Thursday, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be having a workshop with just the Anglophone Africa partners to begin to work on the strategic objectives for 2022 and create an action plan. So in the context of all of this, I think it's really important to say that we, in our strategy, yes, so essentially, it's important to just mention that really one of the key strategic objectives that what we might have seen from the meeting we had last month was revitalizing the network and the work that we do together, making sure that we're really collaborative in our approach to delivering social and financial education to children and young people around the world, which is why for this regional meeting, we also asked you, we had a survey and asked you what it was that you wanted to see, what were the topics that we needed to address. And I'm really glad that we were able to do that for today's session. And that's kind of how we've designed the regional meeting this year. And that's also kind of an insight into how we would like to develop all of our meetings and activities with the partners going forward. We do have this new partner platform that we want to be able to interact with everyone on. We've have a lot of strategy consultations ahead of the 2022-2026 strategy launch, and this is really kind of just a nudge towards how we'll be collaborating better together in the future. So I'm really happy to have everyone on board. We've got some great speakers today with Janine Tail and Dr. Ahmed Morsi. But before we do get started, I will just quickly run you through the agenda for today. So initially we were supposed to have, as I mentioned, the financial education session, but that has been postponed. Right now we'll be having the digitization and digital education session. We'll finish up at 4:30. And then finally we have on Thursday, the strategy workshop just with us as the Anglophone Africa Network. So today, the way it's going to be structured, we will have some opening remarks, which I've already started with, but we'll hand over very shortly to our new head of programs. Then the presentation by Janine Tail, the CEO of Solve Education. And then Dr. Ahmed Morsi will also give us a presentation. Both of those sessions will be followed by short Q&A, so you can get more insight into the work that they've been doing in designing digital education programs. And I think now, before I keep going, I think is a good time to hand over to our new head of programs that you have not had a chance to meet yet, I don't think, or some of you probably already know her, Shireen Husseini. So I'll hand it over to her for now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Tijan, for this introduction. And I'm really so glad to be here with you today in the regional meeting for Anglophone Africa. Maybe I met some of you in the latest international conference, but for those who don't know me, my name is Shireen Husseini. I have been recently assigned as head of programs. And I have been working with Aflatoon for almost 4 years now. I was the MENA program manager. So I was managing our network in the Middle East and North Africa. So I'm very much familiar with all the work in the programs and with Aflatoon Global Network. Maybe I'm new to your region. So I'm really glad that I'm here today to listen to the sessions, the speakers, and learn more. And I would love to meet all of you in person, hopefully soon. But for now, we're managing with the Zoom calls and all the online meetings. And it's my pleasure to be here today. I'm here joining the call. So if you have any questions that I can answer, I'm glad to do so. I will keep it short, and back to you, Tijan, to start our session. Thank you.
Thanks, Shireen. That was great. Yes, so let me not delay too much because I do want to give our speakers some time. But we do have a bit of a bio for our speakers. I think it's important to kind of introduce them in the context of today's meeting. So Janine Teo, who'll be presenting first, is the CEO of Solve Education. Also the first Asian to receive the International Intellectual Benefits to Society Award from Mensa International, so great. Also advisor to the Asian Development Bank on digital technology for development, a fellow of the University of Pennsylvania, the Global Social Impact House. Has won the Women Super Achiever Awards at the World Education Congress, and as well has won the Lancome Visionary Award. So quite a resume, quite a background, and similar for Dr. Ahmed Morsi, who has a PhD in instructional technology and is an associate professor at the Abdulrahman bin Faisal University with 15 years experience developing e-content at the e-learning competence center for the Egyptian Ministry of Communication and Information and Technology, and has designed and developed educational games for more than 10 years and received 4 awards for innovative educational games. So just to give you all an idea of the pedigree, let's say, of our colleagues presenting today, I think they'll be able to really give us some amazing insights. We have had this as a request for us to understand how we can begin to integrate digital into our offering. And I think there's no better way to begin to look how we can do this than having these great people as speakers today. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the microphone, the virtual microphone, over to Janine for our first presentation. And yes, a quick reminder to just mute your microphones so that we can fully hear the speakers when they are presenting. So thank you very much. Let me just stop sharing here so that Janine can go ahead and share her screen.
I have to really apologize. It's evening right here and my cat likes to communicate during the evening, and I was trying to get her to calm down, but if you hear anything, it's my cat. All right. So thank you so much for having me, and it's such a pleasure to be here spending my evening talking to my friends in Africa. So looking forward to visit all of you once the borders are open. So I'm Janine from Soft Education, and I just wanted to bring you through a little bit of our journey, and also most importantly share some of the key learnings and some crazy things that we have tried. So hopefully from this you will learn some things that could inspire you to implement in your regions. With that, let me go. So this is a video actually that was taken pre-pandemic, obviously in Indonesia, in the slums of Indonesia, and that was when I met this girl that's in blue, Sarah, and she was 17 years old and had the big dreams of becoming a doctor one day. But chances are her dream will remain as a dream because at a young age, she had to drop out of school to support her family. And for her and the many others like her, they do not have a choice of wanting to go to school or not because of infrastructure reasons, cultural, political reasons, and economic reasons, most importantly. And so that is exactly the problem that we are trying to solve. And that's why, pre-pandemic, we have already been thinking and working a lot in digital solutions. And I guess during pandemic, we became a lot more busy. So we focus on first the children and youth who do not go to school, and then the second demographic are the children and youth who go to school but go to under-resourced school, and most importantly, being a very youth-focused organization, we focus on youth unemployment rate. So we asked ourselves, how do we bring the schools to them when they're not able to come to school? So that's how we got to our solution. This picture was taken in the streets of Jakarta, and mobile phones have magically craft this way into the hands of our target audience. And we believe that through these devices are seeds we can plant that will change the world. But we also know that with devices, we only solve one part of the problem, which is access. And I think this is something that we all have experienced during the last 2 years, right? But there's a bigger part of the problem, which is effectiveness, which is why today's education may not be relevant, engaging, or effective. So even if we were to take today's education and to give it to our young learners, right, and put them through all of that many years of education, and at the end of it, if they still can't find a job, well, that will not change a single thing for them. So that's really how we, what motivated us to create what we create. And to date, we have already delivered over 2 million lessons through our platforms. So we have 2 platforms. One is Dawn of Civilization, which is our educational game app, and another platform, which is a chatbot teacher at the Learning Board. In Africa, actually, at the Learning Board is more popular, and mainly because students do not need to install an additional app. We have the chatbot teacher on Telegram itself. And for Dawn of Civilization, it supports many different platforms, including feature phones, which is KaiOS, and that's not commonly supported by educational games. We also support, of course, Android as well as PC and STB, so set-top box where in areas where there are no computers, right? So it will be, children and youth will be able to access it through television as well. Our innovation, we envision a world where children and youth can, and even young adults can play and learn. And at the same time, after they reach a certain level, they can start already applying and learn. But when they start work, does not mean that they fall out of that learning cycle. So we envision a world where playing, learning, applying, and earning can coexist together. And that's why the employment part is actually also something very important for us. Our user journey the user journey of our users, they will come into and download Dawn of Civilization, and they will see something like this, and they'll wonder, is this really education, right? And that's when they have to, also select a subject, select a mini game, and play. And the game itself is designed to be as non-academic looking as possible, so that the barrier to entry for this, just to try, is very low. Most youth or children really can't wait to try and download and start going. They don't need that much of a convincing. So here, I'm just going to play a simple video of how it looks like. This video, the characters are more Indonesian looking, but we also have African avatars as well for our African users. Right, so, whoops, yep. So as you can see, that's created for our Indonesian audience. And today we are already in 9 countries or so. And particularly our content, our platform is designed so that we can accommodate additional content from external parties. And that's why we partner up with AlphaToon. So AlphaToon's employability content is already available on the apps itself, both platforms, Dawn of Civilization, as well as at the Learning Board.
And in next quarter, so first quarter next year, we will also be working on adding in the financial education content as well. So if there are any other content, we'll be happy to add them in. And I should also mention that the WAIC, the Western African exams, are also in the platform in Add the Learning Bot. So on top of that, we support educators with a very strong and robust analytics at the backend, where educators are able to see how their students are performing, how they're learning, to be able to analyze the learning as a class, and also to be able to drill down to see individual learnings as well. So that is kind of a quick overview of what we do. And I won't go into too much details. For anybody who would like more details, please to reach out to us. But I would think that, what will be more interesting for me to share with you is really our case studies. So we do quite a fair bit of crazy things, if for the lack of a better word. And so I thought I would just bring you directly to some of the things that we have done so far, especially in Africa, and also after which hand over to my teammate, Ola, who is here right now as well. So, okay. So mainly, I think the last 2 years has taught, since we are in digital education for a very long time, and the last 2 years have taught many people about digital education, and we see people, scrambling a little bit to find their footing, right, on, how to teach digitally. And from our perspective, to be able to successfully teach digitally, the main thing is to tackle motivation, right? Especially because you're teaching remotely. So all of you, I'm guessing has tried to do some form of digital learning, right? And you know that as long as the youth are not in a classroom, it's very hard to quote unquote force them or enforce them to do a certain thing, right? Because they are mainly, acting on their free will. And I wouldn't blame them, right? Because if you think back, us in class when we are young, right? None of us, do homework just for fun, right? We have a lot of other things to do just for fun, right? So in an environment where everybody's learning remotely, then how do we tackle the motivation? Because once there is a strong motivation, then people will be able to do so much, right? So our design really is to design in a way whereby we use some small extrinsic motivation tools like gamification and other game elements around it, and activities which are game-like, and then using that to ignite their intrinsic motivation. So because of that, we do fairly crazy things. So let me just introduce you to some of the things that we have done so far, and you will see, my teammate Ola being, starring in some of our shows. So we actually did learning competitions, and we hold it online. We hold it almost like a talk show where our beneficiaries, our students dial in and answer questions based on their learning. And this is Ola being the MC, because we don't have a big budget, but it was really, really fun. We had different we had different teams from different universities, and they dial in, and they these are all the team leads. And we found that.
Thank you to Digitisation, because my team won. We won.
This is one thing that we have done. We found it to be quite successful, really, because there's this team elements where a team lead went to recruit 10 team members, and we put them in a learning competition where different teams will pit against each other. So if one person in the team actually, did not learn that day, their teammates will be, hey, you need to learn your quota, right? And so on. So so it became a really fun thing for the youth to do. And in fact, because we ran it a little bit like a game show, so here leads me to the next crazy thing that we did. We got them to do out videos to introduce their team, which I mean, I can't help laughing, and that's when I realized Africa Got Talent, right? So these are the things that we get them to do that got a lot of attraction and traction. So these are our learners, and this is a video of them getting ready for school. And we didn't tell them to do anything. We tell them, hey guys, do a team video for the game show. And this is what we got. So all this video really got a lot of attention, and and their friends were asking them, what is this competition, and so on. So then we got more and more learners. That's how we got to. I was really laughing laughing a lot, just to see the ingenuity, and the it's just awesome to see how the African youth. So if we were to do something very boring and very static, right, we're not going to get their attention, and they'll be wondering, why learn, right? But because we do fairly crazy things, we get their attention. And not only that, they form teams and they're dying to learn, right? And that's how, from April to November, we clocked another 1 million lessons by our students. So I want to, before I hand over to Ola, also last 2-3 weeks ago, we did something also quite crazy. Based on the Squid Game, we did another competition where, we're not so mean where anybody is eliminated per se. So the rules are they need to learn on our platform, right? And the top learners, and then based on how many points you earn, you are placed on the green team or the red team. And so, and it's a 1 or 2 weeks, is it 2 weeks? I can't remember, learning competition. So we did, different, this is basically at our mascot, right? And we kind of make Ad into, like a Squid Game character. And it was really cool. So we got quite a good traction, and we had different winners that during those 2 weeks learned a ton, and also we got really very exciting conversations around it. So I would say that a platform is a platform, and it will not come to life unless you have your community behind it. And you have, you build a very strong kind of a learning culture that is, in line with what the youth are interested in. And once you get that, you really, now we have our youth bringing in their friends in to learn, and the learning outcome has been amazing so far. So with that, I would really like to hand over to Ola, because he's my crazy idea buddy in Nigeria, and we definitely bounce a lot of ideas with each other, and we push the boundaries. So over to you, Ola.
All right, thank you so much, Janine. Hi everyone. So I'm just going to share my screen, right? So I'm going to be sharing some of the work that we are doing in Africa. So we do important work in Francophone Africa, as well as the Anglophone, part of Africa. So I'm going to highlight Senegal, right? For Francophone Africa, it was not quite long ago that we launched major innovation for digital learning through gameplay in Senegal, to help Senegalese students excel in their baccalaureate through our chat. Of course, we have a lot of game methodologies to keep students hooked and actually make learning seamless, meaning that you don't have to chase them around the classroom or even chase them around the community compound where you teach them stuff to get them already started to learning what they need to lead a meaningful life. So we have already gamified that process. So and getting Senegalese youth to practice what they would normally have to bury your head in your books. It might be boring most of the time. We did that to increase their love for learning and also to ultimately increase their learning potential. So the project goal was to increase the success of 200,000 Senegalese students in their baccalaureate examination by 20% each semester. So we're working with Ecosa Senegal. I'm not sure, Ecosa Senegal they are the first edtech in Senegal. So they teach using visuals, all the visuals. So, and I am, sorry. Okay, all right. So in Anglophone Africa, we have a lot of case studies, right? Some of which Janine already shared, right? So because of the many methodologies that we use to keep students excited and actually building the fun elements and making them so entangled with learning and never relenting to learn new stuff. So we give micro grants to help students over 15-year-olds to build soft skills, right? So just like Janine shared earlier in her presentation, what would be the importance of education if after schooling you are still not able to apply what you have learned or even get a job, right? So because we have one of the elements that we have at Solve Education is Solve Employment, meaning some the most thriving students within the Solve community get connected to employment opportunities, probably paid or unpaid internship opportunities, or even remote or full-time employment opportunities. And what we have learned so far is the importance of soft skills to actually retaining those talents. And so we also focus by investing in African youth, mostly in the Anglophone area for now, to getting them to build skills that they need to lead a meaningful life. I think according to World Economic Forum, they published that soft skills are going to be the most crucial skills, and they're going to be determinants to the future of work, right? So we also issue micro grants that are being used by students to either pay tuition, or procure books or gadgets for school or get food. Yeah, some of these things they get by building soft skills through practice. So I'm going to tell a story of Ashinze, right? So in this picture, right, you have on the right side, have Ashinze. Before Ashinze discovered Solve Education, he told the story, himself, because one of the things that we've learned is that we have seen is that our community members tend to share their story with other people. So when other new learners join, they transfer, the progress that they have made, the testimonials they share with other people. And we have built upon those pillars. So Ashinze was timid and he lacked social skills. He struggled with persuading people, to actually, tend to his audience. And he has never led a team for them. So but Ashinze has been with us for a year, learning with Solve Education. And since he has gotten the opportunity, right, from the micro grants, right, and also the several learning competitions and the game methodologies that we have employed, Ashinze has had the opportunity to lead teams, not just a single team, but teams, and so also get a bit of experience about the practicalities and common issues that are called, in teams, having to get because trust me, our game mechanics, demands that you be a team player or you get the next man along. So it can really be tasking. And since Ashinze has, proceeded to getting appointed as the general secretary of his department at University of Lagos, he restarted a student club to teach other students the importance of soft skills. Remember, he never led a team before Solve Education, And we are hoping that Ashinze would make, one of, he is an emerging African leader. And Ashinze now interns with us at Solve Education in Nigeria. So another case study, right? So we have a learn and win campaign, just as Janine shared the other time. So we tend to keep our users or our learners within the cycle. They play to earn, they play to learn, and they apply what they have learned to earn. And that way, we have also been able to gamify the learning incentives and learning motivation. So this we have a couple of users spread across different regions, but we highlight for Nigeria and Ethiopia. Of course, we have Cameroon, right? So the Learn and Win campaign, we convert course content just as we have Aflatoon's content. Right? So we gamify, those contents into mini games so that students can play to earn while they learn, right? So, and that has improved the academic standing. When you're making gradual progress, but it's seamless, you don't even know, you're not sweating, you're not sweating it, but you're making progress and you're also, improving in your social abilities. So I'm going to cite a case study for Palumi. So these stories are true life stories. They actually happen, right? So before Solve Education, that's Palumi in the picture. In a community, in Southwest Nigeria, Ibulesor, right? So Palumi couldn't get promoted to the next class due to poor academic performance. And you know what the normal Nigerian mom would, I'm not sure if there are Nigerians in the room, right? So where you also get the community intimidation and you're thinking that you can never be useful for anything in life, right? So because, you couldn't even get promoted in your class. But what happened was Palumi had lost interest in school, right? So Palumi had lost interest in school because he couldn't really catch up with the fast pace of how knowledge get disseminated. So after 6 months, since Palumi started learning with us, he regained interest in learning, right? So because what we did was we built what Palumi was meant to learn, right, into games. So it was picking and absorbing the knowledge at his own pace. Right? So he practiced wide content, on a chatbot, and also enrolled for the examination and passed it. And now he's preparing for the JAMB examination. JAMB or UTME, the examinations that Nigerians write before gaining admission or entrance into the higher institution or universities. Yeah, so just how you're probably thinking, okay, so if you want to work with Solve Education, how can we, what are some use cases, right? So this is not cast in stone, definitely. We're happy to discuss, learn about the work that you're doing and how we can even grow, your impact. So you can convert content into games while your beneficiaries participate in, myriads of winning opportunities when they learn with us, right? Just you have content on the ground, you can gamify that for your participant. We also, offer micro grants for youth that are willing to improve their soft skills through practice, right? So this they're going to be doing through community events or community competitions and different missions that they get to unlock and participate in. Yeah. So the youth will demonstrate enthusiastic communication skills, leadership persuasion, self-motivation, team motivation, among others, and successful youths are awarded microgrants. If you want to also benefit, or you want your beneficiaries, you feel this would be interesting, you can shoot me an email. I'm going to type that in the chat box. That's it for me. Thank you,
Ola. I think I should probably answer the question, correct?
Yes, sure. Yes. So thank you, Ola. Thank you, Janine, for that presentation. And yes, as Janine mentioned, now we have some time before we start the next presentation for some questions. I think it was very, very interesting, and I'm really happy to see that beyond just creating these platforms, there's really the effort to engage with the young people as well as provide these grants. So thank you so much for the presentation. And if anybody does have a question, if you could just please put your hand up using the reaction tool, and then unmute your mic and when you're called on, and then we can have the discussion like that. And then I'll also be reading out some of the comments from the chat. So if you do have a question, please go ahead and put your hand up.
All right, maybe I'll first answer the question. So there is a question from Tadios from Ethiopia. We're so glad to be able to see actually learners from Ethiopia. So great to hear from you. And Thaddeus have two questions. I think the first question is how effective and productive are digital platforms and digital education? So this is actually, and I totally agree with you, right? That's the question we all need to ask. And there are so many digital platforms and so many digital education, and you can't really put that in one bucket to say all digital platforms are effective or all are not effective, right? Or all are productive and all are not productive. And also, a digital platform that is effective in one place or for a certain demographic doesn't mean that it will be effective in a different demographic. So for example, well, Coursera is a really big digital platform. I'm sure everybody here might know them, right? But Coursera's, at the end of the day, the completion rate of their courses are, between 1 to 5% or so, right? So, meaning that motivated people like you and I who wants to improve themselves sign up for Coursera, but at the end of the day, only a small percentage, less than 5%, finish the course, right? So is it effective or not? Well, it's certainly really effective for the 5%, right? And it's also really effective in terms of providing access, right? But is it effective for the beneficiaries or the students that we work with? Probably not, because firstly, they do not have the devices that is required to run a Coursera course, perhaps. Or second thing is that they might not have such strong motivation like the top 5% that will actually complete the course, right? So then if that's so, then Coursera that is effective for some doesn't work in our context. So it's actually really, really important to assess the context, right, that you are applying these digital platforms and digital education to. The second thing is when you talk about effectiveness, because this is something that we definitely think a lot about, right? Then the question always come back to how do you measure? So we can share how we measure, right? And you can think about how you want to measure your digital interventions. So for example, for our English literacy program, we measure by having our users come in. They will take a diagnostic test. So that diagnostic test will be the benchmark or the baseline where their digital, where their English literacy starts, right? And then they start to learn. And as they learn, we keep assessing them. And so we will be able to see how far they've grown, not only just, in just writing, but we actually test all the 6 sub-skills, which is reading, listening, speaking, vocab, grammar, 6 sub-skills, right? And so for each of the 6 sub-skills, we assess them. So then what do we do then? Then we look at their baseline and we look at where they have, what they have achieved after learning with us. Then that's how we know whether we are effective or not, right? And in terms of how productive it is, we also compare the number of hours or number of time that this student has spent learning with us, and also compare what would be their learning outcomes if they were to be learning in school. So just to share, we are actually a lot more productive than school, but actually not because we are doing something super awesome or different, just because school in the classroom, you need to, and depends on the classroom size that you have, right? A teacher is facing 30 students or 40 students, right? And the students might be learning at different speeds. So some students are learning, are coming in the classroom at this level, but other students might be coming at this level, right? And all students are learning at different speeds. So it is actually extremely difficult for teachers, and I, really respect teachers so much, right? So difficult to figure out which pace you go at, because if you go too slow, the people at this side will feel bored and zone out, right? And then if you go too fast, people who are on this side who can't catch up would also zone out. So if that is the case, that's why it's very, very hard to, be effective. And we think the most effective education technology, interventions needs to be tailored to the level that the students are ready to learn, and also adjust on the pace where the students are learning, and be able to measure quantitatively, the learning outcomes. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question. And then the second question about, maybe it wouldn't bring a change to everyone. Now I admit that it's possible that we can't serve everybody. To learn with us, the minimum you need is to have access to a feature phone, because we actually support lower than smartphones. So that is the minimum criteria to learn with us. And Android, and you can learn offline and online as well with us. So we try to make the barrier as low as possible, but we are also realistic that we can't serve everyone. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Janine.
I'm a bit academic, so I mean, because we do research, so sorry about being more thorough. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. No, of course, it's great to hear this in-depth response. We do want to give time for Dr. Ahmed to present as well. So I'll take one more question. I see there's a lot of questions in the chat, which I'm going to be saving so that I can pass them through to Janine and Ola for them to respond directly. I actually saw Ola has already been responding to some of your questions, but I'll pass over to Albasu from the Central Bank of Nigeria, just for one last question, and then we'll go to Dr. Ahmed Morsi for his presentation. So please go ahead, Albasu.
Thank you very much, Tijan. I'm really happy and glad that we're participating in this session. Myself and my colleagues have just been talking, behind the scenes as to how interesting what these guys are doing. And we're running a financial literacy framework in Nigeria that adopts a multi-stakeholder approach. And with the multi-stakeholders cannot be enough. And from what they are doing, they look to us like partners in progress. And I'm really happy about this, and the conversation should continue from here. I think there's a lot we can do. We can do with, what's their name again? I'm looking at, it's not on the screen again.
Solve education.
Solve education, yes. In fact, when I had the Nigerian music, I was wondering, looking at her and then the Nigerian music, are they actually working in Nigeria? But then
I always say that I'm African in my previous life.
Oh, yeah, really interesting. Thank you very much, Tijan. I just wanted to put this on record.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, I think, well, I don't know if you're based in Nigeria, but I think there's definitely a link to be made there. And for the other questions, as I've mentioned, I'm definitely going to be saving all of them and passing them through to the team so that they can respond to you. We'll also be sharing the presentation with you after the session, so don't worry about that. And yes, so now we have another presentation from Dr. Ahmed Morsi. I think it'll be equally as interesting. I want to thank Ola and Janine again for the presentation, and hand the virtual mic over to Dr. Ahmed Morsi for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tijan, for giving me such an opportunity to be part of this discussion. Always, I love to be in Africa, my continent, as an Egyptian. And I would like also to thank the whole team in Anglophone for the long-term relationship that you were always good supporter for what we are doing at Mim Ain. And briefly, Mim Ain is a company aiming at creating creative e-learning solutions for children, basically. And my presentation today, I will talk about how to design effective educational solution. And what I'm gonna say, it's not to go for this type of technologies that we are using that I'm gonna show now, but also there are a lot of alternatives that we could use in order to come up with something very unique for our based on our context. As Janine had just mentioned, we have to tailor everything according to our own context and our own circumstances, infrastructure, number of audience, and I will cover this point in my presentation. So let me first start by a very, very important piece of information. Education technology now is quite different than before. I started to develop my first education solution over 20 years back. It was very, very difficult for me to create it. At that time, we had to get the some skills regarding development, web development, coding, and many other things. And we have to buy, for example, to subscribe for hosting or to buy certain software. But now everything is affordable. You can, for example, you can host your content on a free website. It's quite easy. There are a lot of things called authoring e-learning tool where you could just author your content very easily, make them interactive. This is very easy. And also the availability. You can now, from anywhere, you can download whatever you want. But the only problem now is, if this is the situation now, everything is affordable, everything is easy and available. So where's the problem? The problem now is in the maturity. We as educators or curriculum developers or whatever, we need to select and answer some questions before we say, okay, this technology would fit my goal. And those questions are simply why we need technology and how to use it and when. For example, are we going to use it during class, outside class, where to use it, and why to develop your own. There are a lot of tools available now everywhere that we could use. A couple of weeks back, I was attending a workshop in UK. They were talking about the skills, digital skills for teachers, and they have presented like tens of amazing software that you could get either for gamification or online collaboration or assessment or authoring content. So before we go to say, well, we will build up our own content, there are a lot of free resources there that we could use in order to build our own effective design. So during the upcoming 3 slides, I will describe how to justify your choice if you want to go through a pre-made tool or you build your own, and then I will start to talk about the software or the game that we have designed in collaboration with Anglophone, and how did we, I would say, considered all the points that I'm going to talk about. The first one is your goal, why you are going to use technology. This is a very important question. We might need technology for outreach, to outreach more people. Like I know that Anglophone, they are aiming at maybe reaching 20 million people using technology, which is, you have to use technology. You cannot outreach this huge number of beneficiaries here and there without using technology. Sometimes we use it for engagement and motivation, and I'm very happy to hear that Janine, when she mentioned the engagement and motivation as a good point to consider when we deliver our solution or our content. Do we use ICT or technology for inclusion, for equity, to make learning available for all people? Do we use it to reduce cost? Every goal of those goals has a different way of manipulation. If you just need to outreach, of course you can outreach and you can increase engagement, or maybe you can reduce cost or whatever, but you have to have only one goal in focus, because this one would tell you exactly which one would be better. The second point is the pedagogy. We cannot just think of, okay, well, I have, for example, let's say that we have the outcomes that we are trying to achieve, psychomotor, not cognitive. So in that case, maybe the technology that I decided to use wouldn't be that important, but maybe we can use virtual reality. We might use augmented reality, for example. So the pedagogy, it refines the idea, it refines your goal and tells you exactly what technology would fit. Also the strategies, if we are going to use something for engagement, for motivation, most probably we'll go for something like Kahoot, or we can build up our own game to make students engaged and motivated. And also content, the type of content that we are having. If the content is just facts and principles, it has certain tools. If it's assessment, we have different tools, and KPIs also has different tools. And then the audience, number of your audience, maybe change your way of thinking, because the technology that you are going to use is not that suitable for a large number of students. And finally, the readiness and challenges that you are having as an institution or a personal. For example, maybe you're a school, but you don't have infrastructure for hosting, or maybe you don't have sufficient skills for mobile development. So we have to think of those 4 parts, but we have to start by our own goal. And here's the technology. Technology now is the I would say the result of thinking of those 4 aspects together. Now I'm going to talk about Mali. Mali is a game called, if we translate it in English, it will be My Money. And it has been created by Mim Ain. And of course, Aflaton, they participated in many phases, like the experimenting the game in the beginning, sharing the game with the network and collecting feedback. And then we have some developments and so on. And our main goal here, again, I will talk about our main goal. Our main goal is to facilitate and make those complicated concepts easy for children. When I talk about, for example, the saving money and maybe prioritizing wants and needs and so on, those things, if we talk about 6 years children, it would be quite difficult for them to understand those complicated things. And especially when we try to follow certain framework that talks about maybe wants and needs, prioritization, maybe charities and many other things, all of those things together, when they come up in one program, they would be quite difficult. So our main aim was how to make better learning experience, to be sure that the learners they have acquired the skills and knowledge. And by the way, the behavior is one of the hardest outcomes that you could measure. It's very difficult to say that by the end of this program, children, they become more savers, or they appreciated, for example, charities. You cannot do this easily. You need maybe long-term research or whatever. And we have partnered George Washington University, GFLAC, who were doing this kind of research with us to come up with KPIs to be able to assess the behavior at the end. So when we started to design, we didn't want to create something and put it in the market, and then finally we find that, by the way, that we are a non-for-profit organization, so our solution is for free. So anyone can install it from iOS or Android, and we have another version which is offline version for people with maybe with low internet connectivity. And then we have used some techniques, and this is very important when you come up with an idea and when you start to build up your own content. You might need to be sure that this approach is proper, this design is effective and proper, and how to do it. We had a UX lab, user experience lab, and I would now I will talk a little bit about the tools that we have used. And finally, to measure this, we had to be sure that the intended learning outcomes have been achieved. So there are three main things that you could use as a content provider in order to assure that your game, your content, your program is effective. In the design phase, you shouldn't go for rollout and then you evaluate. You have to do it as early as possible. So the first, of course, all of those things, they have to be combined in one strategy, which we have selected the gamification in order to make the learning experience more funny, and people they are engaged and motivated to learn, especially when we talk about, as I just mentioned, 6-year-old children. So the first thing is the role of technology. By the way, we have different phases that we could use technology. Of course, we could use it even earlier than this in the analysis phase, but I decided to talk starting from the design phase. When you can have better decisions, technology could help you doing this. And also it helps you do a lot of things easier and faster and accurately. Here are some innovative tools that we have used. We've used, we call it eye tracking tool, and something called Shimmer. Shimmer is a galvanic scan response to see the responses of the galvanic during interacting with the game, and the facial expression analysis, and finally the EEG. The best in those tools, they are giving you true information and facts about how your students or your target audience are dealing and interacting with your content. So it's not just telling you where are the eyes. It tells you exactly where was the most important part in your design. And we have discovered, for example, that important function is totally missing because of wrong visual design. And also it tells you where is the first place where your eyes dropped and for how long and how many times it goes back and forth to that point, as you can see. And we applied this. This is the real game, by the way, that we have designed. It's in Arabic. And also now we have it in English and French. So we can, I guess, and we are planning now to have more languages. But at least now we have 3 languages now. And you can see now that the circles moving, it's the eye of the child. And we can see, for example, from that point, whether the text that we are presenting is easy or not. Sometimes we see that the eye is stuck in a certain word going back and forth. We know that it needs to be enhanced in the future. Also, we know we simplify the text based on this experiment. So we knew that some words, it took some stress or some focus than the other words, maybe because we are using hard words. It's not common words, so they spend maybe more time to try to understand this one. Sorry. And this is the shimmer that I told you, this about the skin response. It's a wearable device. It's wireless. So, and while they're playing, if they feel happy, for example, you can see the graphs is moving up. It means that, okay, now they have some response to the content. And the facial expression analysis, it's just very, very simple webcam. We just attach it, and the software is based on AI. So it tells you what they are feeling. It's about the inner brow raise or upper lid raise, as you can see now. So here is the point. We can easily see, for example, here is the joy. we can see the peaks of the joy when the child or your target audience were happy, when they were surprised. For example, at that particular part, we see like a dark lines, and they both the same, one for the emotional surprising and one for the emotion joy. And then we found that the power of text, when he see this, when he of course the translation means if you have paid money for charity, you can get one of the items for free. When they started to read the word free, it ignites their joy, and it made them surprised. And also you can see it easily here if you can look at his face now, when he reaches the word free, which is that one, you can see it easily how his face has been changed. And this photo is more obvious. So when he reached here, you can find his jaw dropped and his eyebrows raised up. And another one, which is the EEG device. EEG device is a wearable device that measures the brain activities. It's very easy, and I guess now it's very cheap. It's not very cheap. It's cheaper than before. I mean, you can get one maybe for $250 US or euros. It's not that expensive to get one and to measure some I would say some feelings like attention, concentration, cognitive load, memory processing. You can see all of this because of those types of waves that they are detecting. And actually, basically, it measures the different parts of the brains using electrodes. And the interesting is it could tell you some performance metrics, like excitement, if they are excited now or not, engaged or not, relaxing, interest, stressed, focused, or also it detects the facial expressions. So it's very, very brilliant device. And here now the same, we have applied this while playing the game. But actually, one of the things that you have to to keep in mind, it's not suitable for children. It's not wrong. Or it's not harmful, but it's not that precise as if you do it with adults. So some stuff we have done it with adults to be sure that the devices are working or the game is perfectly. So what if I don't have this money to bring those devices? Because those devices actually you can get them. They are not that expensive, especially that if you are like a small company or maybe a university or a school where you have a lab for the UX. You can get those devices and you can do some measurements in the design phase before you go through the whole design. But also prototyping. Prototyping is very, very important, and it could tell you almost some information and deep information about your game. You will validate everything by having prototype. Prototype, it doesn't mean you have to create something that is awesome from the beginning or something that is 100% complete. Instead, you need to experiment or prototype the important things. And also we use what we call it MVP, minimum viable product. And minimum viable product means if I want to create a game, so instead of just waiting like the first one, just to create the interface and then to create maybe the audio control, and then you control it, then you build maybe the data analysis or whatever. So finally, your customer will never see anything in the beginning. He has to wait until the last step until they see something. But in the MVP that you want to enter in the market and give it to your students, it has to have a different way of management. Like you can start with a scooter, and then you can build it up one after one. So you can make the game with the first feature or the first level, and then try it. And when you receive a feedback, you can build up another level. You can add new character. You can have the character in a better shape or whatever. So, but you have to show them something it is functional and viable that they could test, and you could get the feedback out of it. It's very important. MVP or prototype is a tool for getting the feedback from your students, from your audience, to know that whether you are doing everything correctly, properly or not. So they are very powerful. So if you don't have money for purchasing those UX Lab devices, you can also use MVP to get some insights. Finally, the artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is I guess it's now easy because we all could get like free courses online. We can understand how to manipulate with data. And by the way, one of the most powerful part in our game is artificial intelligence. We do artificial intelligence for a lot of things. I'm going to show you now. Please, if you are creating any application in the future, you have to think of artificial intelligence for because of the importance and the things that you could get out of this. So in our case, we have a lot of data because now we have spread the game and we have tested this over 20,000 children. So we've got a lot of information, like which one buys this product first, which one maybe bankrupted in the first maybe 5 rounds, who's and from which country or from which school or from which province he could achieve the game goal, and so on. Based on this information, you can easily, with very, very simple equations, you can classify them, and you can do prediction, and you can do recommendation. They are the most important things that you could get out of the artificial intelligence. And in our game, we use the data and we feed the game with the data in order to be able to classify in the background, classify our students, and then we can make like an adaptive environment. We mean by adaptive environment, just hold on a second. We mean by adaptive environment is we can produce some cards for them or some products that are totally different from the others. I will show you now, of course, the artificial intelligence is very powerful in gamification, in motivating people. For example, let me give you an example. If we see, for example, one of the children, he is paying a lot of money and he is not saving anything at all. And we need to change his behavior. We predicted now that this student is going to lose all his money. So in that case, we have to do intervention. We cannot do this, but artificial intelligence could see this, could get information and see that this children is going to waste all his time. So let's bring him a card telling him, if you have 20 points in your account, you will get a free product. So in that case, we see that children, they get a step back and they started to save. Maybe next time they do this. And also we use artificial intelligence for giving smart feedback. So when they try to get do anything right, we know that this right because of the whole thing. Not, for example, he decided not to buy now. Artificial intelligence, no, this is a good one. This is a good decision. So the feedback is supportive.
Very much. And
sorry.
We will see tomorrow. Yeah.
I guess there's a mic opened.
Yeah, I think it's just someone's mic, but please go ahead. And if everyone can mute whilst the presentation is going on, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. And then we do a mentorship for them. So if we want to give them like a if we want to give them just a second, I can mute this. Okay. So we can give them mentorship, we can give them guidance, and we can provide them with information. Again, as I told you, we apply at Mali Game, we apply the AI to provide a comprehensive feedback and assessment, and also to provide content by showing them some cards and so on. The second is we changing learners' behavior by rewarding the proper behaviors, or not punishment, but showing them that this kind of behavior is not that proper based on the feedback they receive. Also, we control the game balance. We don't want them all to lose their to lose the game. So we need to be sure that they are enjoying the game. So the balance is very important for the engagement and motivation, which is the fourth one. And you can see here is one of the things that we are saying that we are sorry you cannot get this product because you don't have sufficient money. We advise you to save money to get maybe a house or car, and we are giving him like a message: do not keep your balance always over 30 points. For example, if we see that he's paying a lot of money, we give him card. You have to get a new clothes, so you have to pay 30 points. So he knows that he might lose everything if he don't save money. So we can control the savings and the other things. Finally, the analytics. So he can easily know that his performance regarding the savings, regarding the investments, regarding the how much money he received in the game and how much money he ended with. And so on. And also we having some rewards, some badges based on what they are having. Here's the conclusion, just 6 points. The first one is we should have clear goals before searching for technology. Please do not go and say, okay, well, we need to have fun with the game, so let's create a game. You might use maybe Kahoot in your class, and it's just Kahoot. You don't need anything else. Pedagogy comes first. You have to set clear outcomes. You have to set clear KPIs. I didn't tell you that George Washington University, when we worked together in a research project, we have set what kind of attitude inside the game that reflects a real attitude. So we were dealing with them inside the game as if they are in the real life. And we couldn't do this unless we have KPIs in order to be sure that this action has a meaning regarding behavior. So pedagogy comes first. You have to set proper outcomes. You have to set performance indicators. You have to write proper content that is suitable for your students, that is comprehensive, that is not that has a lot of activities and so on. And also you have to know that it's you have to see that if you are capable for this or not, money-wise, infrastructure, and so on. Also think that it could be easier than you imagine. You can get anything from the market, a lot of tools, amazing tools. As I told you, there are tens of amazing tools there that you could use. Prototype and validate. This is very important. You have to validate everything before paying a lot of money. If you get a seed fund for one of a to build up a platform or a game, you have to prototype, even with very basic technology. If you can even call them instead of just sending them a message in SMS, do this. Just experiment. Just validate everything. Finally, data is the heart of your solution. Be prepared. If you are going to collect, if you are going to build a tool that deals with audience, of course, with the respect of the data policies, you have to collect the learning data, not the personal data, of course, because you can make a lot out of it. You can understand a lot from the data that you are collecting. That's everything, and here's my email if you need anything from me. Please let me know. Thank you very much.
Great. Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. I think it was very interesting to really see the behind the scenes of how to design one of these programs. I think that's important that we see everything that goes into it and some of the considerations for implementing something like this. So thank you very much. I'll once again open it up to everybody in the room for questions. I see it. Dr. Ahmed Morsi's just put his email in the chat, so you can also ask that way. But yes, we do have 10 minutes for some questions. If you have any questions, you can either type them in the chat or just put your hand up using the reaction tool and then unmute your mic, and we can take the discussion from there. Well, actually, I had a question about you mentioned the Meli game, and I wanted to know just if you could share a bit more about some of the learnings that came out from that in terms of how the youth have interacted with Meli.
I'm sorry, you need to get more information about. I didn't get the question. How it looks like, or how people interact with it.
Yeah, what have you learned really from it? The how the youths have interacted with the game. What have you learned from that?
Okay, well, the first thing that we have learned out of it is technology matters now, and I guess COVID it shortened the time that we were expecting that technology will invade education 100%. And now now we know that even most of the children and parents, they were looking for a real learning solution. So if you create something that is really valuable, that could achieve outcomes, most probably they will love it, people will support it, and it eventually will success. Also, now we think of data in a totally different way. Again, not personal data that we collect from this, but even the data that we could collect out of the game or any solution, or we can call it learning analytics. It matters. It could do a lot of things. So these are the most things that we get out of our journey in developing this game. And partnerships as well. Partnerships is very important, very, very important. You cannot do everything alone. You have to have people. If you have partners for delivery, you have partners for research, you have partners for maybe consultation, for education. So try to get as much partners as you could.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I see a hand up, Lily Omondi. If you'd like to unmute your mic, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the presentations. A very quick question. I'm from Child Fund International, working in Ethiopia, and my concern is about protection of the children who are using these games that you're providing. Is there any protection from the use of from hackers to put in pornography or any other content into these systems? Are they safe for children? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The game is 100% safe. I mean, also we have a very, very strong team that works with security, and because we have partners like the International Telecommunication Union and George Washington University and many other big and elite organizations, we were focusing from day one to the safety, children's safety, and for securing the data. As I told you, I mentioned this more than one time, because even we were trying to get some not personal information, but very, very basic and well-known information in our countries. It considered to be like normal. We couldn't do this, and but it's 100% safe.
Thanks. Yeah, maybe actually, Ola, I see Ola still on the call from Solve Education. Maybe you could answer the same question regarding that safety component.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Lily, for asking the question. So we hold security in high regard, the safety of the students or the youth that learn with us. And because we leverage technology, we are a remote team, and data, right, has never been so important to us. And also, ensuring that the data is safe. And we also understand the AI ethics, and also we definitely practice and stand by the AI ethics, right? That is, to not dig out information, without the permission of, the information owner, etc. Right? But for dawn of civilization, right, it's highly secured, and we have a team of developers on the ground that safeguard content and information of the learners.
Right. Great. Yeah. So thank you both for the clear and concise answers, and I hope that eliminates your doubts, Lily. Are there any more questions? Anybody else with any questions for Dr. Ahmed Morsi? Well, if needed, of course, we do have his email, which he's put into the group chat. So yeah, we can take the information from there. But if there's no more questions to go, then I will just wrap up the session. First of all, I'll just finish the session by thanking Dr. Ahmed Morsi again for the presentation, thanking him for taking us through the kind of the back end and how how to conceptualize the design of these educational programs. As we've mentioned, well, as I mentioned before, we have had these discussions, particularly over the COVID first initial lockdown, as to how we were going to continue to reach the children and young people with our programs. And I think it's really important that we have kind of practical examples of how that's being done. And I think it's really great to see that these examples include such an important component of making it engaging. And I love to see every step of the way. So I'm really, really happy that we've had this presentation today. So thank you again, Dr. Ahmed Morsi. Thank you, Ola. Janine has left us, but thank you, Ola and Janine from Solve Education for your words today. It's very, very helpful. Just to wrap up today's session, there is, I guess you could call it some housekeeping. As a lot of you know, there will be another session on Thursday, and that will be specifically from our for our network, so the Anglophone Africa partners. And so I would like to invite you all to join that, as we will be taking a deeper look into the strategic objectives of Aflatoon with the network from 2022 to 2026. We've already had a presentation on this specifically last month on the 27th of October, and I've shared the slides with you. So